Good evening and welcome to Gator's Garage, the home of all things historical gaming in the wonderful city of Savannah, Georgia. We have with us tonight a person of some interest in the hobby, Mr. Dom Trascritti, head of HMGS South, and the gentleman tasked with running Hurricon 2024. Mr. Dom, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hey, I'm the president of HMGS South, which covers the South Georgia, Florida region, which all the other HMGS chapters in the across the country. We all cooperate to a certain extent, and our territory is kind of the peninsula and a big chunk of Georgia. I don't think there's too much going on in the Mississippi and out west to that until we get to Texas. But people come from all over the Southeast to our shows. We run a historical miniature gaming show, but of course we have all kinds of different games going on in that area at our show. We have board games that are historically related or science fiction gaming. We have tabletop miniatures that are in Age of Pirates. We have a couple of that are pulpy, kind of Flash Gordon sort of things. We have a very good RPG community that comes to the show and runs Pathfinder Society and Starfinder Society, along with Evil Genius Games, which runs Ego, which is a modern RPG game that also is making its start. These are campaigns where you can start with your character, and your character becomes portable. You can play anywhere in the country. In fact, I love Savannah. I've been to Savannah many times, and of course, I've gone up there for gaming a few times. So it's
Excellent.
definitely a lot of fun.
What a neat concept, an ongoing campaign.
Yeah,
I
it's
actually kind
ongoing
of made a note
RPG.
of that. Yeah,
So it's
I'd
not
like
like
to.
a one shot. So you go to a guy's
Right,
house, you play, and you only have a one
right.
shot, and that's it. This is a game that goes ongoing, and it's not just one GM. We have pretty much one world, and everybody shares a piece of the world. So, and for example, with Pathfinder, we have Glorian, and Glorian is kind of like their fantasy world. Everybody can have a character in that world, and your character gets certificates every time you play. Once you get 3 certificates, you go up level. So it's
Hmm.
very easy to do the bookkeeping. You keep track of your own gold. You buy things. You can do pretty much anything you want with your character within certain parameters. But
Sure.
it's quite enjoyable. Of course, we have
Hmm.
other campaigns and other games that go on in the historical realm where people have continuing events that continue. But of course, it's all historical, and we only have pretty much one history, so everybody
There we
shares
go.
that too.
Excellent. That's absolutely interesting.
So
What a way to start off a
yeah,
discussion about historical miniature gaming
yeah,
convention, talking about RPGs. But
we're gonna
you
have
know,
a lot of bolt action at the show. A couple of
yes,
tournaments. We have one 2-day tournament that's using kind of a kiss off of the old rule set, uh, but trying to give everyone one last hurrah with that the old bolt action rule set.
yeah, Gator Games will actually be a sponsor of the last version 2 tournament going on there, and we actually talked with Patrick Ballinger not too long ago
Yep.
about both the tournament and the new version 3 that's dropping. So y'all be watching our channel for that. If you haven't seen it yet, go back and look at it. It's a really good discussion. My first game convention experience was an HMGS Con. It was a Mid
Mm,
South Siege of Augusta.
mm-hmm.
Um, and interestingly enough, the first 2 games I ran at a historical miniature gaming convention was the Lord of the Rings skirmish game and Dirt Side 2. I
Yeah.
remember writing Paul Elkin and saying, "Hey, I know it's a historical convention, but these are games. Can I run them?" And he was like, "Heck yeah, come on in."
Yeah.
And
That's
both
how we
games were
feel.
well attended.
If
Yes,
you come and you bring your stuff and you want to run a game, you want to put on a game, we are happy to give you space, assuming we have space. We still have room
right,
for games now, but we have we have different size tables for whatever you have. If you're just starting out in the historical hobby and you only have a little
right.
bit of terrain, we have 4x6 tables, and we go all the way up to 12 by 6x12s. So you can fill up a large table. There's also board gaming there where we have Command and Colors games. You like some of us? I know I like to play Tricorn, but Richard Borg
Right.
usually makes an appearance at our shows. He's selling many of his games, but there's a lot of people that love playing CNC, and instead of just playing with the little bricks, they often will bring their own minis and populate the board that way. And it's some very attractive boards. And it's very easy to play. Good place to
That was
start.
probably, yeah, it really is. The Command and Color system is really a great place to learn both wargaming
Hmm.
and to an extent miniature gaming, because
Right.
you've got your units are multiple elements, just like most other miniature games. Um, and I first met Richard, I think at it might have been at one of the Jacksonville cons when I first actually got to meet the man.
He's such a nice
But
guy. He's probably the nicest guy
yes,
in
he
gaming.
is.
I say that all the
Yeah.
time. But
Yep.
he's always very friendly to people. New players
Yes.
to his games, he'll come over and greet them and say hi. He'll often have a
Yep.
little something to hand people. He's a great ambassador for the hobby, and of course,
Yes.
he enjoys putting out his games. Crusades is coming out this fall, and I
Ooh.
think it's going to be in there. I know it's part of so the miniature commanding colors. The add-on to that will be the Crusades
Okay.
commanding colors.
So that means it's probably going to come through GMT. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yes, it has come through GMT. I love
Okay.
P500, and
Yes.
I hope I can see that, and I do buy from them on the P500 system.
No, we're a channel here that we are dedicated to the hobby and all the parts of it. And
Cool.
yeah, GMT has been a good partner to the wargaming hobby, and by extension to the miniature gaming hobby. And
Hmm.
we're always happy to call out those companies that have made a
Oh yeah,
difference in the community, and they certainly have.
and
Uh,
new ways to
little
game
little
with them too.
right, exactly. That's
Coin
so
coin
important.
games. I love the coin games.
I've heard good things about them. I haven't had a chance to play any of them, but I've heard great things about them.
Yeah.
I own several of the Command and Colors Napoleonics
Hmm.
and several of the Ancients. And let's see, and oh yeah, and the original Battle Lore and Memoir 44. So I might be just a
Yeah.
little bit of a fan of Richard Byrd games.
I've got Memoir for it. I got Red Alert, which is the space combat thing, because
I've
I am
got
a
that one
sucker.
too.
I am a sucker for space combat. But
Yes.
I've got medieval. I have the Jacobite uprisings. I have the American Revolution. I really enjoy it
Wow.
because it's a simple
Yep.
system to play, but it has lots of depth. And whether I win or lose, a lot of times I lose, but whether I win or lose, I always have a good time playing it. And
Yeah, that Red Alert,
we
it takes
always
up a
have,
whole table.
oh yeah, it
Go ahead.
does. And we always have people that are coming into the hobby that might be listening saying, how can I've never played it. Just sit down and play because we will be happy to teach you. Even if your
Yes.
command and color is not your thing. Hey, I really want to play this game. Okay, there are people that will hand you armies, not to keep, but to use to get you on the table to get you to play. And they love to do it.
For example, yeah, we just did that this past weekend. We had
Oh yeah.
a tournament here in Savannah, and
I
we
saw
actually
I saw
had
it I saw it online. It looked like it went really well.
it went well. We ended up with 8 players, and actually one of those did end up using a borrowed army because his
Yep.
army's out for painting. But even had it been a player that said, "Hey, I'm just starting, but I want to try a tournament." Okay. I mean, between me and Randy, we can put 6 armies on the table. More than happy to lend one. And there was something else we had going on. Talk about bringing new people and making new people welcome. I had one guy send me a note and say, "Hey, I just want to come watch. Is that okay?" I'm like, "Sure." And I had already planned to have like just some open play space off to the side. And so him and another young man and one of my friends from Barnwell, they ended up playing a couple of casual pickup games of bolt action.
Yep.
The young man and the guy that came both got to learn bolt action. And my friend from Barnwell said I had a good time. I did what I came to do. I came to hang out with you and
As I
hang out
like
with
to
the
do,
guys, and it was a good time.
you reel them in.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
It's the
But
gate.
yeah,
It's the gateway game. People say, "Yeah, I want to just come and watch." 9 times out of 10, I can put some dice in their hands and they start playing
that's
because
exactly right.
who wants to watch for 4 hours? Oh,
That
do you want to play this army here? Play this unit. That's your unit.
right.
Tell them where to go.
Exactly. Yeah, I wasn't sure how the day was going to go, so I had told the young man that came. I said, "Well, I may end up having to play, and if I have to play, you can play as part of my team." I wasn't well, not like I as the TO. I'm certainly not playing to win the tournament.
Right, right, right.
So right, but I ended up not having to play, which was fine because I'm sure you've run tournaments.
Hmm.
Last thing you want to have to do when you're a tournament organizer is play. It's
Yeah, when
okay,
I'm
but it's
organizing a show, I'm often not playing. So
right.
I have my yellow shirt at HMGS, so people can
Yeah,
spot me. But like after six or so, that comes off, and I put a T-shirt on, and I go incognito,
that's right.
and maybe wear a little blindfold or a mask or something, and I'll go
That's
and I'll
right.
play something I want to play. I've
Get
gotten
you
away a couple
get you one of
times
those
though in the
old
afternoons.
timey masks.
Yeah,
Do what?
little Zorro mask, right? Who is that
That's
mask
right.
guy?
That's
Well,
right.
I have a lot of fun doing it. I am going to be doing a learn to play Cuba Libre, which is another the GMT game we were talking about with coin. So
Yep.
that's another aspect of it too. Uh, we've got a good community with many different pieces of the miniature and wargaming puzzle represented, from
Love that.
painting and doing terrain and printing and 3D printing. And one thing people love to do is they love to talk about how they did this and how they did that. And we
Mhm.
also got an open painting area. People have donated miniatures. So if you want to sit down and paint, or you've got a young man or a young woman who wants to start to get into the hobby, a teenager, they're not into playing a game, but they often would love to paint. We have primed miniatures, and we'll loan them paints, loan them a brush, and let them go to town. It's
That is
everything is
fantastic.
represented at this. At I try to have something for anybody at the show.
Dom, really appreciate that, and having done a little bit of that myself, I know how much work it is. But, yeah, I think that's the important thing is try and have a little something for everybody. Make sure new folks, because we've even there, at the cons, we'll have new people walk in. Especially, you'll have a
Yep.
hotel guest or people from around town that'll be like, "What is this gaming thing about?" And they come in, and to your point, we're not shy to set them at a table and let them play,
Oh,
or hand them a paintbrush. I think that's
yeah.
fantastic, and I've always found that at all the cons. I know at Siege, my friend Mark Baque runs a board game demonstration area, and it's always busy, and
Yeah.
it's sometimes busy with the spouses of the historical guys. So you got these guys. You want the historical guy or girl may be over pushing miniatures one place, and their spouse is over playing board games.
Oh,
Hey, it's
my
all
wife.
about the
My
family
wife
being
is over
together. It's awesome.
playing too. She's got her own games she likes to play. I
That is
mean, it's
fantastic.
open for anybody. Now we
Yes.
do have a board game group that people would often come and play board games. So this coming show, I've set up like hallway games. I've put smaller tables out there, 4x6s out in the hall, and spread them all over the hallway out there where people were. There'll still be some tables to eat on, but these 4x6 tables that are out in the hall allow us to have more people that can sit and play. You want to do a pickup game, and you don't know how to play DBA, and you can go to the DBA area. They'll show you how to play there. But if you just want to pick up game with something, or you just want to mess around with something, those 4x6 tables are there. I'll have scheduled games on there, and I oh my God, you're going to go sit down and play a pickup game? Oh, please don't play games at our gaming show. So all that's wide open, and some people
That
bring
is
some really great board games to the show.
yes, yes. I
Historical,
know
non historical, whatever.
we used to have a tradition back when Jacksonville Garrison was running Recon Rapier. I'm sorry, Rapier.
Right here.
We would play Twilight Imperium on Sunday, which
Yeah.
put us home a little late on Sunday night, but it was
That's
so much fun.
all day affair.
Yes, yes, but it's one of those all day games that really does move pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into the gaming hobby?
So I'd been doing way back in the day, um, when we were using spears to fend off the dinosaurs, so we could
Right,
play.
right.
It was back when I was in high school, just a couple years ago. My mother was looking for a gift for me for my birthday, and I had already built every model rocket in the hobby store, every single one of them in there, and the owner of the store knew me and knew what I owned. And oh, he's got that one. My mother says, "Oh, well, how about this one?" No, he's got that one too. And he goes, I got this new game, and he hands her a copy of Dungeons and Dragons, the original like blue box. And I got that, and I thought, hey, this is great. And I played some with my friends, and then I saw that they had back then they had a battle system, and I said,
Yep.
hey, this battle system is kind of cool. Then somewhere along the lines, somebody came up with some Space Marines, and Warhammer 40K stuff. And Traveler came out, and the Traveler with the little 15 mil. I still have some 15
Yes.
millimeter Traveler minis, and it just the gaming hobby was booming, and I just was getting into all these different aspects of it, RPGs and non-RPGs and miniatures. And we were talking about Traveler a little bit offline, but one thing we loved to do with Traveler when we were playing that, it wasn't as an RPG. We were building ships using one of their expansion rule sets called High Guard, and we were making these ships, and we had limitations. You had to have 20 ships; they couldn't be more than so much weight, and you had so many mega credits. And we went nuts, and we shot at each other, and we just enjoyed doing that. Designing ships and shooting at each other it went from that into I don't know. We just kept building and building, and as an adult. All through my adult life, I've done gaming of one type or another, whether it's a board game or a miniature game or playing Car Wars in college. And through my adulthood now, I'm still a big kid playing with my toys, whether it's historical miniature or my bolt action army, which Webb, another board member, always teases me about painting, or my unpainted pirates. I enjoy it all. I've got a fire. I've got a blood and plunder army that I'm incessantly. I paint one or two, and then I set it and I do something else.
I can completely relate to that. I've got two, and they were both given to me by Mike Tunez because I did a lot of social media push out when Blood and Plunder came out. I was so excited to see it because it was so fresh. Mm-hmm. And every time they come out with an announcement, I would put it all over Facebook. And so when he saw me at Siege, he's like, "Here, I'm going to give you a couple starter armies because you did a lot of work for us." So and
if you've never played the system, I call it Blood and whatever, because we have Blood and Plunder, we have Blood and Honor, we have what is it, Blood and Valor? Anything from the pirate period all the way up through to modern or close to the modern era. The gameplay so nice and smoothly. I like that you're just throwing D10s out. The miniatures movement is easy to do, and it's supposed to be kind of a casual game, and it's great. So if you haven't played them and you come to Hurricon, Firelock will be there. I know you have, but for anyone out in the audience that hasn't played it, please walk over to the Firelock table and say, "Tell me about this game you have," and they'll be falling over each other to give you a demo.
Absolutely. The newest one is Blood and Crowns, set in the medieval period.
Blood and Crowns. Yep, I have my copy. I did the Kickstarter.
And they're going to be dropping one called Port Royal, which is kind of a skirmish RPG type game. We'll actually be interviewing Mike Tunez on this channel sometime in the near future, talking about Port Royal and talking about Firelock games. And I have played other titles. I've played Blood and Plunder. Finally, I got my British done. I still got to get my French team done. I've played Blood and Valor. We've posted a couple of play reports on that. We actually have a guy in our group that is kind of taking that on as a champion, so I'm excited to see that. And I've played Blood and Steel, although I don't own it yet. Note the key thing.
I own Blood and Steel, and I really like that. And I've heard a couple of people talk about doing things in 19th century America, which I kind of got excited about that, because you can do Civil War, but you can also do the some of the skirmishes and some of the fights throughout that era.
Oh gosh, yes.
The wars with the Native Americans, or even the range wars, you could do that with it. And it's perfect for that because it's small units and skirmish type campaigns. like I said, I keep saying this over and over. It's something for everybody. One other thing I wanted to mention about our show, it's not unusual with HMGS shows, but I wanted to make sure I said we mentioned Richard Borg, who's a designer, comes to our shows. We have other
Yep.
authors and designers and artists that come to our shows. They are happy to talk about their games. They're happy to talk about how they produce their games. Mike and the
Yeah.
guys at Firelock are great about that.
Hmm.
There's a lot of rule sets that are out there um, that people love to talk about their own projects, but you can always get kind of an inside scoop from them. Sometimes, if you're a good designer, you usually have something in your pocket that you'll pull out and say, "Oh, by the way, I shouldn't be telling you this." You know, it's kind of part of the game. I shouldn't be telling
Yeah,
you this, but let me tell you this.
I know I got to help at one of the cons with some of the playtesting for Blood and Valor,
Hmm.
and then I got to help with some of the playtesting for Richard Borg's World War One game.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean you're right there where it's like where the games are literally being created and you get to meet the authors and the writers right there, and that's just so absolutely exciting. And
Hmm.
talking about the blood and games, by the way, it's one of the things I'm really focused on in the hobby is that skirmish level, blood and plunder, blood and valor, bolt action games where you can get in with as few as 10 miniatures and get off and running. I think that
Right.
makes the hobby a little bit more accessible to new folks and makes it easier for guys like you and I that may be not, we may be pretty busy. You can throw together 30 figures pretty quick and have a game
Yeah.
going.
For 28
I know
millimeter,
some of
but
the old
we also have some of the small scale gaming, so you can play armies like in
yes,
DBA, and those are
right,
quite accessible. If you buy an army, you kind of have to base them a certain way, but in an afternoon you can paint a couple of stands and set them
just
aside,
so.
and they're tiny little guys, so people aren't going to be looking at and counting the buttons on those uniforms, so you can get away with a lot with
15s,
those.
you got to love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's that was one of the things I wanted to ask about, and I can tell you're pretty excited about it. What would you say what do you think of the current state of the wargaming hobby?
Well, I think that we need to be, I think, open to new players who are going to be coming in. A lot of the people, when I first started with the hobby years ago, um, it was a bit different, and it started for a while. I think for a while we were starting to get a lot of the more seasoned players, but I think that there's a lot of newer, younger players that are coming in, and I think that if we welcome them and say, "Hey, you want to play? Great. What do you want to play?" and kind of
Yep.
help them along, they're going to find their own thing that they like to do. I know that my own personal gaming uh, taste has migrated in the years that I've played, and that's okay.
That's
That's
right.
how they're going to be. Some of them might like to, hey, I want to. Those biplanes look cool, so they want to play biplanes. Great. We got a guy who's doing nothing but that. The whole show, he's got a table. I gave him the same table the whole show. He loves it, and we'll be happy to run it for you. He'll come out in Tampa too. We have a Tampa Gaming Club in here in Tampa that run on Sundays. First and third Sunday, we will run open gaming, and Robbie will come out there, and he'll set up his biplanes, and people come and play. And this is what you have to do. You have to think of things that new people are going to want to play, new people enjoy. Some people love
That's right.
pirates. They look at the pirates. Hey, I like pirates. Hey, I can pilot a ship. Great. They love that. And that's good.
Yes.
Eventually, then they might go into migrate something else. They might say, hey, I want to play Sword in a Flame. I want to do this pulp gaming. But I think one thing we got to do is we got to have you know, uh, have a welcoming heart to people saying, well, yeah, you are welcomed here. We value you to come and play. Please, have a seat and enjoy yourselves.
Absolutely.
It's the
Yeah,
one thing that
that's
I've always learned from, I've done RPGs for a long time. And a lot of times, if I get your rear end in a seat and put a die in your hand, um, some people it's just not for them, and that's okay too. but for some people, they just go nuts and they love it. So
Yes,
you never know.
that's right. Exactly. Hey, so what was your first war game? Did you say a battle system?
I think battle. I think it was D&D and those, but I think it was the battle system. Yeah, way
Yep.
back when.
Yep.
In fact, I got the little flat box, and the guy down in it was. I grew up in Miami. He also had Dawn Patrol, which is
Oh, I have that
little,
game. That's
yeah,
awesome.
little square cardboard biplanes, and
Yeah.
I played and
Yep.
stuff. I even taught my uncle to play, and he was like,
Oh,
It's all
fantastic.
right. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
I,
enjoyed that.
I had Dawn Patrol when I was in high school. It was probably me and my dad's favorite air combat game. We played a little bit with Richthofen's War, but it just didn't have the
Yeah.
same feel to it.
I
And
had
so
I
we
had one, and I can't remember the name of it. Maybe you might know.
hmm,
It was a book, and each of you had a different book for a different make of aircraft, and you would call out what page to flip to for you and your opponent, and it would like have a picture of what you see from the cockpit.
oh
I'm going
wow.
to shoot, so I flip to this page. You tell the other guy, and he's going to flip to his page, and based on where you were, it 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 was kind of a cool little concept, but I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it
Oh,
since. It's got to be out there somewhere. There's a
I'm sure.
gaming archaeology for somebody here in the
Gaming
up there in the other.
archaeology. Oh my gosh, I love
Let's
it.
see if we can
Yeah,
figure out what
people,
that game is.
yeah, hobby's been around for a while. But
Yes.
anyway, so yeah, played some Dawn Patrol myself. Had the game in high school, sold it, and then bought it back again from Noble Knight Games because I wanted to have it in my
Oh
collection.
yeah.
And I have this this thought of someday playing some more of it. Sure, when I get a chance. So that's good.
I think I
And
saw a
what's your
copy
favorite?
shoot by Rudy in the corner of the show at the HMGS South shows. Rudy Nelson, time
Yes,
was it
Time Portal
Time
Hobbies.
Portal Hobbies. He almost always has things that are out of print, and
Yep,
it literally is like a TARDIS. Somebody came with the TARDIS. They opened the door and pushed a bunch of games out from the 70s,
right.
and Rudy grabs them and brings them to the show. So you can always
Sure.
find things coming through there that are old that you don't see, and in fact things that are weird from this game was popular in Southeast England, and I brought it here. And
Yeah, that's one of there's a reason we call some of those war games classics because they really are. I can't tell
yeah,
you the number of times I've broken out one of those old games. I'm a huge Squad Leader and ASL fan,
yeah.
and you'll sit down with people and they'll be like, "This is great. Where did it go?" And it's like, hobby moved on. But you know
Yeah,
what?
it's
There's
still
still
people are
if they're
still
still
playing
in
Squad Leader.
oh heck yeah.
Yeah.
Squad Leader, Panzer Leader, Panzer Blitz,
Mhm.
play them all. Love them. But yeah, so that's really cool. So what would you say your favorite war game is?
Well,
Or does it depend on the day?
it depends on the day. At a point in time, I've been getting into the coin games more and more and enjoying it. I've been teaching people coin in the hopes of getting more coin games going in the area. I really like CNC. I've been playing the tricorn system is one of my favorites right now. I'm sure in 6 months it'll be different. But
Love it.
I like that. I've got the Jacobite Wars at here at home, and I also probably within arm's reach. I have I have the American Revolution, Washington from that campaign. I
Nice.
heard there's an expansion for the French, so that's my next purchase at the
Love it.
Hurricon. I'm going to look for a copy, and of
That's
course
excellent.
Jev. For somebody sent me a whole bunch of Ogre and Jev plastics. I appreciate it, Mike. And
Yes,
so
thank you.
that's one of my next. I like hex gaming, and that's perfectly valid.
I like hex games because in many ways it's faster. You don't have to measure inches. You just
Yeah,
count your hexes and away you go. And hex games, shoot, going back to Squad Leader and Panzer Blitz, were early adopters of many of the miniature conventions, and you can still find them. And of course, the new
hmm
Jev games, the new Ogre games, they got the huge hexes that you can now put your minis on.
yeah.
BattleTech seeing a resurgence, and it's the same
My
thing.
my name's on the Ogre box. I backed that Kickstarter a while ago. The
Oh
big
man,
$100 box. So
Got it.
and,
I didn't
yeah,
I didn't do the Kickstarter. I had a buddy of mine here in Savannah, and he was like, "I have this, and nobody will ever play it with me." I'm like, "You never asked me."
yeah, I know.
But I'll take it off your hands. So I
And
got it for list price,
so in my kit
and I
bag, I
played the
often
heck out of
throw a
it.
little copy of Ogre and
Yep.
Jev just to have it
Yes.
there, just in case you know a giant cybernetic tank shows up and we gotta fight it.
I have a travel kit in my car that has 6 pocket games in it. Well,
Yeah,
4 pocket games and then a combined copy of Starfleet Marines from Amarillo Design Bureau. So it's all sci-fi games, and it's great. No,
yeah.
I've got Rommel's Panzers in there too. I don't know if you ever saw that old micro game Rommel's Panzers, but yeah.
I
So
remember
I
the
hear you now.
micro games that came out. And, they
Oh
were
gosh,
in the
yes.
plastic boxes. Yeah,
Yes, yeah. They were well, Steve Jackson
Steve
Games had their
Jackson really
plastic box,
pioneered.
but right. Metagaming was all cardboard boxes, but they were
Oh,
still
okay,
$5-6. You had a war game in your back, literally in your back pocket. It was really cool.
yeah.
So you mentioned something else. So CNC is command and colors. You really like those.
Command and
And
colors.
then
Yeah, they're
coin stands for what? You mentioned the coin games.
counterinsurgency. So Cuba Libre
Got it.
is one.
Right.
A distant plane. I bought a bunch
Yep.
of those unused on a stage sale just a bit ago. I have the what is it? American Revolution coin, which is a GMT came out with one that you portrayed the sides in the American Revolution. And the one thing that coin really brings out that's good for uh, historical miniature and historical gaming as a teaching tool. You kind of get the idea of more of the wrinkles of the actual large scale war, because really you got to remember the Americans weren't just fighting the British. The Americans are also fighting the Native Americans that lived in the U.S. because they
Yep.
really didn't want the Americans there, and the French were fighting alongside the Americans against the British and against the Native Americans, but they all had different objectives out of the war,
Yep.
and it not
Yeah.
necessarily uh, they aligned many times, but sometimes they didn't. The
That's
same
right.
thing with Cuba Libre. You talk about the Castro's units. There was a directorial which also wanted to get rid of Batista. The government, of course, and the syndicate is the fourth side on that. And I like to describe the government and the syndicate as frenemies, and the
Right.
directorial and Castro's 26th July as frenemies. They're friends as long as their goals match, and they're not friends when they don't. And that to me
Love
is
it.
a great way to teach people something about a counterinsurgency. The same thing with
Yeah.
distant plane in Afghanistan.
Hmm.
And I just picked up a copy of Fire in the Lake, which I haven't punched yet. That's on my shelf to punch, and that is the Vietnam War.
Okay. Excellent. Wow. Yeah,
So
you really do like
I
it.
love it.
I've
I
yet
love
to play one, but
Oh,
it sounds like I might have to give it a try.
hey, some for
So
somebody is running a learn to play coin using Cuba Libre at the show. I wonder
that's
who
oh yeah,
that could
somebody we
be.
know very well. I
Yeah,
tell you, that's great.
somebody who might be on the
I
screen
love
right now. I'd love to have people come and want to, even if you just want to come and look at the game, it's fine too. But if I
That's
have
right.
four people, we'll just play a game and I'll talk through how to do it. We may not get through the whole game, but at least you'll learn how to play.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to put a link to Cuba Libre and the Coin series and the Command and
Yep.
Color series as part of the text for this. If
Yes,
folks want to
please.
get a feel more for what these games are about, um,
And we
as well
mentioned
as
P500 too. P500
right,
is a way for GMT, and it's a great. I think this is good for the hobby. Not
yes,
necessarily for stores, but it allows people to buy the game ahead. You buy it at a
right,
discount, but you're backing the game. But it's not like a Kickstarter because no money changes hands. You're just promising to buy the game if it produces. When it makes the cut, as they say, they start
yes,
printing the game, they start producing the game, and they have offered a game for sale then at the same P500 price. So if you haven't done GMT games, P500 system, it's a great way to expand your gaming library, and it stretches those dollars a bit too.
yeah. And
So,
we talked about state of the hobby. One of the things I noticed, and GMT's been doing that for years, and I think it's just smart.
mhm.
They've never missed a target. If it didn't go, people got their, didn't get charged for it, as opposed to
No.
some of the other crowdfunding mechanisms. And it's allowed
Yeah.
GMT to do is front load that cost. All right,
Yes.
everybody says they want purple people eaters in a game. Put your money where your mind is. And
Yes.
I've always respected that about them. I've told other game companies they should consider it, and they sometimes just look at you like, yeah, well, that takes some work. Well, so does
Yeah, it
success,
does.
But yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
does.
it's
Yeah.
really,
I've
yeah,
backed a few
good on them.
Kickstarters that just didn't happen, and so I've been out
Boy,
the money. But
probably the worst I saw was Spartan Games' last Dystopian Wars Kickstarter. One of my friends backed it, somewhat at my recommendation, because Spartan Games was Spartan Games. They've been around for a while. And I'll be darned, they shut the company down and never fulfilled the Kickstarter. My
that's a
buddy was
shame.
like, "Dang, yeah." So that was
Now,
that was pretty rough.
on the other side, I backed Ogre, Steve Jackson Games Ogre. I got a great game,
Right.
a great big full box. I don't get to break it out as much as I like, but that was a good successful Kickstarter. So you kind of roll the dice a bit. It depends
You
on what
bet.
you it depends
It's
what you got.
it's like on any other investment. Do your research. Yeah, I like to take that big ogre box to game days and just break it out. And people's jaws always hit the floor. They're like, "Oh my gosh!" And
Mhm.
I'm like, "Yeah, this is fun." And then I like to break out my little pocket box of Jev and say, "This is where it all started." And they're like, "Oh my gosh!" So yeah,
I played the
absolutely love
crap out
that.
of that little that
Good
little
Lord,
Jev
yes.
plastic box and the Car
Oh, I
Wars
had
box.
that. I had
In college,
Jev.
we
I
played Car
had
Wars like crazy.
uh, Shockwave, reinforcements, and
Hmm.
Ogre, and played my buddy and I. We actually did campaigns with Ogre and GEV, and just had an absolute blast playing it. So man, that's really cool.
Yeah,
How did you? What was the first game convention you attended?
purely gaming convention or just convention? I think it was in Miami. There was a couple of shows that I attended. I think it was not Volcon. But it was a show down. It was a couple of shows in Miami when I was in high school, and then
Yeah.
when I came up to Tampa in '83, I think I've been to a couple of the skirmishes shows up
Hmm.
here. Um, I've gone to MegaCon, of course, had a good gaming thing. Of course, Gen Con's got great gaming thing, a great
Sure.
gaming piece. Dragon Con, of course. Dragon Con always had, back in the day, they had a huge area for board games and a huge area for RPGs, and I really enjoyed that. Um, so it's kind of a, it's always been a mix of things for me. Like in
Okay.
Miami, there's a lot more costuming in those days that I enjoy doing besides playing RPGs after hours. So
Oh wow. Okay. I love it.
yeah,
Yeah, I've seen a few fellows around the game circuit, the historical game circuit, that were use that as an opportunity to break their kilts out.
yeah,
I
people like to
unfortunately
wear
I've
kilts.
outgrown mine.
Yeah,
You what?
same here. I've outgrown my kilt. I've been trying
Yeah.
to lose weight, but yeah,
Amen. That's good
I don't
motivation right there.
we don't do cosplay at HMGS shows, but we uh, going to MegaCon and going to those people enjoy that.
Sure.
But you can also use that to your advantage in this hobby. Hey, do you want to play a pirate game? Pirate guy dressed like a pirate. Yeah, I'd love to play one, and they come. So
That's right.
that's what you got to do.
Yes, sir.
You got to see
Um,
where they
so
are.
how'd you get involved with HMGS?
Well, a friend of mine had done paint and take for a long time, and
Okay.
she had done paint and take with HMGS for a while. And she had suggested I talk to them because I was doing a lot of RPG stuff, organizing for the campaign, and I made kind of a proposal to them, saying, "Look, if you give me space to play, I'll put these many heads in the seats, paying customers. All we need to do is this, and we need to do that." And the board at the time could see the benefit of that for the show.
Hmm.
We bring 30 or 40 people in. Now, we're part of a group of people that bring people because the DBA people bringing people, the Sword and the
Yep.
Flame guys bringing people, the Firelock people bring people in. So there's different groups that come in, but we kind of integrated the in with historical miniatures. Now, fantasy and science fiction isn't exactly historical, but it's kind of a historical adjacent. And yes, we do use
That's right.
minis in our game. And yes, we do use dice, and we have battle maps on the table. So
Exactly.
it kind of meshes with it. And uh, one thing I've really enjoyed watching over the years with seeing people play at the historical miniature shows is they'll come and say, "Oh man, this is a great mini." They'll pick up a Civil War mini. Oh, this is a great mini, except I can't have the gun. And they'll like cut the gun off and they'll modify this mini and put a spear in the guy's hand, and there you go. They got a guy that's a fantasy miniature made out of a historical miniature, and
I
that's
love it.
part of the game, part of the hobby. Uh, Stan
Absolutely.
always comes. He always has great pre-painted minis for people, and uh, role players love to go through there and buy him out because they do enjoy having pre-painted single minis in fantasy and other genres to use. So I'm
Yeah,
trying to
there is
make
a
sure I go around the table here and catch all our vendors. We have good vendors that come. Besides Gator Games, we have Sherwood. Sherwood comes and they always have a large selection of minis.
yes.
Ravensburger always has cigar box maps. Um, I don't think they're competition to you because you guys are too far apart. But Bearded Brown Coat always comes and have some great events at their store too. We try
Yeah.
to give a good place to play for people, a good place for people to find out who's in their neighborhood and who wants to play.
That is that's probably a couple of the big takeaways from a convention is you'd be surprised who you'll meet that's really right in your neighborhood. Number
Right?
one. Number two, it's a great opportunity to play stuff you don't normally play. I mean, I know, sometimes there's a comfort in say, okay, I'm gonna take my group, we're gonna go play XYZ game that we always play. But I always encourage people, hey, break out of that comfort zone. And I've even got some games that I've only ever played at cons. Love
Hmm.
them, love to play them, but they'll never be on my shelf because they're just games I play at the con. I loved what you said about how they welcome the RPG folks in. I know
Yes.
one of the things I'm always teaching is, if they're gamers, let's get them in here and let's,
We all we
because
all
it'll,
work better together because there are
yeah,
so many places we can play at. There are so many. I can tell you, there's a lot of hotels that won't touch a miniature or a convention. You say, yeah, we've got a gaming convention that we want to do there, and they're thinking that we're going to bring in roulette wheels and there's a shady thing going on, and they don't take the time to figure out what's going on. And so we don't have a lot of places we can go that are for one clean and well maintained, which I got to say the Wyndham where we do it now, it's got a Starbucks in it. That's a great thing. And the
good to
place is
go.
clean. And I think the rooms are clean. Um,
Yes.
that we have a good welcoming community, and we certainly do in HMGS South. And as gamers, really, we're looking for a good table. Another thing I'd like to mention too is that if you come and you come by yourself, you don't have friends you're coming with, that's okay. Because a lot of times
That's
you'll
right.
sit down at a table with people you don't know, and you'll meet new people. I often say you'll have a good time or you'll have a good story to tell. So sometimes the gaming table isn't exactly everything you want. That's a good story to tell somebody else later on, and hopefully you'll be the good games
I
and
am
the interesting tables is that like holy cow, this
I'm
guy charged a machine gun position, and it kind of was sad me having to mow him down, but he was there.
Ate
What
it
did you
for
do?
him. Yeah.
What did you do that
Yeah.
for?
Yeah. No,
Yeah, we've
I'm
been
like
there.
you. I've seen some real moves on the game table, especially at cons, and you're like, wow. But yeah, and that is half the fun. And then the people you meet. I mean, I've met great people that I've stayed in touch with, and the local gaming community, it can really be a good community. It's
Yeah, it
amazing.
is.
Um, how long have you been involved with running Recon and Hurricon?
So I was trying to figure that out. I think it's been some years. I know I've been doing organizing conventions and stuff for at least 20 years. I think that
Wow.
we started this. I have to think about it a little bit more, but I think I started doing this in 2012 or 2013. And I just started
Wow.
this RPG, and I've gone along and I've said, hey, I know how to do these conventions. Let me help do this. And it's just been,
Awesome.
uh, you know, I've grown in terms of my involvement with HMGS, along with the shows have grown. Um, I'm I'm president, and eventually I'm sure I'll be president emeritus, and somebody else will pick it up. But I'm sure I'm going to be always involved. I'll always be enjoying this hobby because it's a great hobby.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm going to ever retire, but
Ah,
I don't think I'm ever going to retire from playing on the tabletop. You guys will see me there somewhere or another.
well, that's about. I'm the same way. I mean, I started playing when I was about 10 years old, and I hadn't stopped yet. Um,
Yeah, my
and
cousin
I think
Louie
it's
and I had played a couple of board games, and we couldn't figure out the rules. And that was back when I was a little kid, so I didn't really count it as wargaming because we were just
right,
making up the rules and pushing things around.
right.
Stratego, everyone plays Stratego as a kid, so you can
Oh yeah.
bank on these things to bring people into the hobby now.
I was actually doing a write up on one of my games, and I said, "Oh, Travel Battle." That it's if you've played Stratego, then Travel Battle will be familiar to you. You know, it's
Hmm.
got squares and it's got soldiers and it's got like 4 pages of rules. I mean, it's not complicated, so it's really
No,
cool.
those one-page
Um,
rules and short rule systems are great, and
yes.
they've made appearances at our shows.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, and for a con, you want a simpler, even if it's a complex game, you want a simple presentation.
So I got to
Nobody
say
wants to
something
sit
about
through 30
judges.
minutes of rules.
They make little 3x5 or little cards with each unit on it, and sometimes they'll
Yep.
have like a picture of the unit on there, and they'll tell you how you got to do to shoot, and what you got to do to defend yourself, and how you move. And they take a lot of time, and that's kind of an unsung appreciation uh, for
Yes.
our uh, for our judges. They take the time to
Okay.
produce the materials properly to give people a chance to play, even though they're not as
Yes.
familiar with a big thick rule set. Even the thicker rule sets, they have ways for people to come in and play and learn.
You can almost always
Oh yeah,
dial a rule set back
yeah, you
and
can.
keep the flavor of the game. I mean, I play squad leader and I play and teach squad leader and Starfleet battles, so I I've got
Yeah.
a little bit of experience going the other direction. That's really cool.
Hey, have you
Why would
played?
you recommend?
Have you? What was it? There's a couple of Starfleet battle adjacent games. The Uh, what is it? Star Armada. I don't know if
I've
you've
played
played it.
Starmada.
I,
Actually, it's
I've
kind of
got the.
funny. The Starmada Unity kind of brought me back into the Starfleet universe.
Yeah,
Be- It's just such an easy game to pick up and play,
yeah,
and
exactly. It's easy,
yeah,
and
lends
you
it
can use the pre-made minis, or the pre-made STLs you can buy now,
control sheets.
but you can buy
Yeah.
it and sheets, and it doesn't take long to learn to play, and you get a good lot of
Mm-mm.
thing out of it. I've got a 3D printer here right over there, and I like printing little ships and things like that.
That's awesome. But yeah, so yeah, Starmada brought me kind of back to the Starfleet verse. And what I
Yeah.
like about Starmada is you can put a squadron level game on the board in a couple hours.
Yes.
And that's huge.
And
Played a
it's still
little bit with
playable.
Federation. Yes, played a little bit with Federation Commander. Like Starfleet better, just that simple. Uh, and you may have heard of this game or not. I'm an old Starfire player. Starfire was Steve Jackson's first Starship game,
Oh, okay.
and it was later he turned the property over to Task Force Games, and they reworked it, and it's still in print by an outfit called Starfire Design Studio, but they don't do a lot with it. But all that to say is, yeah, love me some. I think I love starships like
I'm
it sounds like
I'm a
you like
sucker
playing
for
games.
Starship Battle.
Oh God, yes. And so Starfire, look it up. It's worth a look.
Cool.
Send you a link on that one. And it's one of those that it's miniature agnostic. So I've played it with Imperial Star Destroyers and I've played it with counters.
Yeah, with
So there
pennies.
you go. No, not pennies. Use pennies to mark point of turn, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered this, but number one reason you'd recommend someone attend your game convention.
Um, if you're brand new to the hobby, we'd love to teach you a game. We'd like to sit you on the chair, and you'll have a die in your hand from 9 a.m. until midnight. We
Amen.
we have a great welcoming community. We have a lot of a lot of people that are happy to show you their hobby. Um, I'm also a ham operator, and I got to tell you, nobody, there's nobody that's in a hobby that's technical like wargaming or hobbies or even hobby trains that doesn't like to talk about it and show other people what they're doing. And we would love to be able to have that opportunity to show you. The show is not that expensive compared to other shows in the Orlando area. We price it for the person to come in. If you want to come in just for a day pass, we'll sell you a day pass at the show. If you want to come and pre-register, I think it's $60. If you've never showed up at a show, if you join HMGS, we'll give you a discount, and the discount is pretty persistent. But it's not a bad experience. If you're local to Orlando, you don't have to get the hotel room. But yeah, we really pride ourselves on showing people that. And if you played plenty of games, you're going to find plenty of kindred spirits here at HMGS South, Hurricon and Recon in spring.
Yeah, and if you haven't picked up and listening, when you go to a game convention, and I've heard people say this, like I've been running. You've heard me mention, just I'll be running a game at a convention, and I've had friends come later and say, "Well, I would have played in your game, but I didn't have quote unquote my stuff." So unless you're playing in a tournament where you're expected to bring your own stuff,
Right.
if you see tripods from Mars on the event list, or you see Battle of the Bulge on the event list, all you got to bring is your smiling self. The game
Yep.
masters are going to have everything else.
You got to bring a willingness to play, and that's very important for historical miniatures. We're not going head to head, and you're not bringing an army to fight other guys and be Uber and beat the other people. You're playing as part of a participant in a play that the judge has created, and he'll have his armies balanced, and there'll be certain units that'll be there, and no matter what it is, it might be something that people aren't normally going to have.
Right.
Like Webb had a Spanish Civil War, which is not something people make big units of, but he had all the different units for it, and it had terrain set up for it. It's beautiful table, and you get to play on the table. It's not like a diorama where you never get to touch it. We want you to touch our miniatures and our terrain and play with it.
That's a great point, Dom, and that's another great point. So again, it's if you've never done a gaming hobby, con's a great place to go. If you're in the hobby and want to try something different, absolutely give it a try. So, and it's one of the things I've always enjoyed. Since I run a lot of games, I like to go to cons sometimes and just sit and play. So that's fantastic.
As a civilian,
do what?
As a civilian?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I like to go to shows, and I'm not running anything. I'm not organizing anything. I'm not in charge here. I'm the irresponsible adult, and I'm going to play.
Yeah, I've got guys I play with here in the area, like everybody does, and if one of my buddies is putting on a game, I'm like, I'm in. Sign me up. What do you want me to? I'll bring myself and snacks. What else you need? Nothing. Good. I'll be there. So how do you keep your local group in Tampa there going and growing?
So Tampa has some stores, and I enjoy going to the stores. A lot of times I'll buy board games there. I'll buy miniatures. I'll buy dice. But I'm a member of a club here in Tampa that we run board games 2 nights a week. We rent space from a bridge club. So Tampa Bridge Center bought a building. One of their members had a bequeathment to the bridge club. They bought a building. They owned the property, and they were looking for someone to rent space to. And we said, well, we would love to come there and play board games there. And we explained what we did. We were playing in another women's center in Tampa. And they said, well, they came and saw and said, oh, yeah, so this fits. So we play 2 nights a week on Wednesdays and Fridays in Tampa. And every first and third Sunday, we pick up on Sunday. That is from 11 to midnight or 1 a.m. in the morning. So we can play, we can play Twilight of the Imperium if somebody wanted to do that. But they do play long format games like Garage, and they play some Kanban. They play some really heavy games is what we call. And I'll come there and I'll bring, hey, I've got some tanks, and I'll put some tanks on the board, and we'll play something. Um, uh, Bruce had turned me on to a game called 7 Days of the River Rhine, which I enjoy, and it's a very
Ooh,
fast play game. It's very easy to play. Um, and other games, I'll bring my CNC stuff. I'll bring the coin game, or I'll bring Root, which is a war game disguised with little woodland furry creatures. Um,
right.
and and I'll bring those games, and we'll play like crazy. So that's
Yes,
one thing we do that keeps it fresh. Now we did have a membership drive over the summer. If I can make a plug for Tampa Gaming Guild, um,
absolutely.
on the Sunday games that we play, on the first and third Sundays that we play, anybody walking in the door has free admission, can play all they want, no charge, no problem. If you come with a member on any of the other days over the summer, you can play without any surcharge. Now, if you're a member for the club, members pay dues, and that goes to pay the rent to rent the space. So normally
Makes
it's
sense.
a $30 a month, but they're now doing a year-long membership, which you charge for the year, but it allows us to pay the rent, and we can have guests that come and play. So over the summer, the membership drive has been very successful. People have come and checked us out, and a lot of people have said, "Oh, well, you know what? I believe in your mission here," and they slide. They pay their dues, they become a dues paying member, and that's really what it's about. It is a 501c. I think it's a C6. I
Mm,
Not a lawyer. I'm an engineer,
got it.
um,
Got it.
but
Yeah.
it's a 501c something a group, and
Right.
they do nonprofit there. I didn't come talking about Tampa Gaming Guild, but for my local group, it's been great because I can come bring my games in, and I always find people that are willing to play.
Yeah. Here in Savannah, it's kind of a patchwork. We got, like you say, the stores, and we play twice a month at Savannah Lion Games here in Savannah, with our Flames of War group, and then our larger historical group. We'll play either at my HOA clubhouse or at my church,
Yeah.
and the church has been real good to work with me. All they ask is that I give them stuff far enough in advance. They actually give me first options on using the fellowship hall, which is amazing. That's the
Yes.
pictures you saw. We were in the church fellowship hall, and
Yeah, I
then
saw that. It was
HOA
nice.
club. Yeah, yeah. And we've had church members walk through, and they just love it. We just they're people. Our church is full of folks like that. I'm really lucky that way, really blessed. And then the HOA is a little bit different. I can only have about a certain number of people. So usually, if I know it's a game that's not going to draw so many people, that's usually what I'll run there. And then on the couple Thursdays a month that we do Flames of War, we do Flames of War, and we've been known to do some other things too. And Savannah Lions, they've started selling Flames of War, but they don't mind if I bring other stuff. And so
Right.
it's a gamer store. They're happy to see the gamers. The guy that runs it's a fantastic fellow. So there's a plug for one of the other local game stores here in the area.
Yeah, we have two
That's
really
some good
great game
things.
stores for miniature gaming here. We got Critical Hit over in St. Pete that does lots of
Yep.
that. In fact, they've come to HMGS shows to sponsor the Flames of War in our show, and
Hmm.
there's a couple others here that do that are happy to sell you board games and happy to sell you dice, but they do all right with support. But as far as
Love it.
playing in the stores, it sounds like Gator Games over there in Savannah's got a great space for people to play.
We do. We do. And and the reason I asked you about it is I know I'm not the only one that's looking to build a club or build something, and sometimes hearing how other people do it can give people ideas. So
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
the guys set up a nonprofit, and I didn't. It wasn't my idea, but when I heard about it, I bought into it too. And that's just it. You got
Sure.
to have people that understand your mission and are willing to participate. Same thing with
Exactly.
HMGS. If you understand what we're trying to do, we're trying to have a clean place for people to play, a welcoming place for people to learn about the hobby, enjoy the hobby. What else can you ask for?
Yeah, when I heard about HMGS, I'm like, I'm in, sign me up. Where can I be a
Yeah,
member? So
we have a
yeah,
great
that's really
we have a great time,
fantastic.
and we're happy that Savannah Garrison is part of the our network.
Yes. Thanks for having us. You guys are, we appreciate your support. And again, doing things like this, just kind of talking with you and picking your brain. We appreciate it a
I'm
lot.
happy to talk.
Yeah, me too. That's fantastic. Tell you what, if do you have any other comments for the folks before we wrap?
No, I hope we see lots of new faces at our shows. I'm always happy when people says, "Hey, I saw you on mention where you saw me or mention where you heard about the show." I'd love to hear that. We're always looking for new ways to publicize the show. We don't run the show. We're not putting money in our pockets. We're not running out the door with big bags of cash. It's a break even show, and we do it for the love of the hobby.
I love it. So yeah, a couple things. So like Dom said, if you got any questions or comments about the show, you can look up HMGS South. I'll have a link for them in the comment section below.
You
If
can
you've got
email
a
me
question, you
directly at
can
hmgs.south@gmail. I'll be happy to answer questions. Hey, can we really play
fantastic.
any game we want? Why, yes. And I'll probably explain it in a nice email.
You're good about that.
I try to be.
HMGS South at HMGS.South
Dot
or
south.
HMGS South?
Yeah,
Okay.
Google won't let you have a dash. So it's hmgs.south@gmail.com. And that's
Yeah,
the
I'll put
email
that
that I
down
kind
below
of
as well.
maintain.
So
That's fine.
they can email you directly, or they can drop comments in the section. And speaking of that, Gators Garage has been up and running now for about 6 weeks, and we are working to grow as a channel. If you like what we did here, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and give us an encouraging comment in the section below. We'd love to hear from our members. If you got something else you'd like to ask about, or you'd like to see us explore or discuss, if it's within the world of tabletop gaming, we'll probably entertain it. So thank you guys for your time. Don, thank you for your time. Hang around a bit
My
once
pleasure.
we log off, but thank you for your time. And folks, one more, Don, remind us when Hurricon is again.
It's going to be September 25th through the 29th.
Got it.
It's
So
right at the end of September, last weekend.
right. Yeah, right. Same weekend that Bolt Action version 3 is dropping. So it'll be a big
Yep.
weekend for the hobby that week. HMGS South and Bolt Action together. It'll be great. So
We do a lot of
if
bolt
you
action at the show.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you guys, I think Patrick will be running a lot of Bolt Action. I'm actually going to be showcasing a game.
We're running a straight game. Some of the people do
Yeah.
use bolt action rules on the floor, and they'll just play
Yes.
pickup games. There are
Yes.
various things. Like I said, I
Yeah.
mentioned the Spanish American War or Spanish Civil War. That was one that was a bolt action rule set. It's just a great rule set. Works well.
Yes.
Same thing with
Very
like
flexible.
the blood and X rule sets. It's a great rule set.
Right.
Very easy to play, easy to pick up.
All right. Okay. Thanks again for your time, Dom. Folks, thanks for watching. And be sure to click and subscribe and share with your friends.